What if the scariest monsters aren't the ones that chase you, but the ones that wait for you to forget they exist? East of the Shire, beyond the old forest, the Barrow-downs stretch out. Real hills, covered in grass and stone, where ancient kings were buried and the air never feels warm. These aren't ordinary hills. The ground here remembers old kingdoms, lost battles, names no one speaks anymore. Most hobbits think of the Barrow-downs as bedtime stories, but these hills are real, and what sleeps beneath isn't just a ghost or a shadow. It's something that's waited, patient, and hungry for over 1,000 years. This is where the past isn't finished, where the ground remembers and the dead are never far away. Tonight, we walk where the living and the lost meet.
What happens when history refuses to stay buried? This is where the real chill of Middle-earth begins. But to truly understand the terror beneath these hills, we have to look at how Tolkien himself saw monsters and why he put them at the heart of every legend. In 1936, J.R.R. Tolkien, philologist and mythmaker, stood before the British Academy and declared, "Monsters are essential both to the machinery and the ideas of a tale." Where most saw monsters as old superstitions, Tolkien saw them as the heartbeat of every myth. Grendel in Beowulf, the Draugr of Norse legend haunting ancient graves, dragons twisting destinies. Last time, we saw how Glaurung, the first dragon, warped the fate of heroes through cunning and fear. But Tolkien didn't just theorize, he lived his argument in every story. The Barrow-wights are no detour. They are the dread that roots the Lord of the Rings in the ancient north, a confrontation with the world's unburied trauma. Here, monsters make poetry. They turn four hobbits' journey into a battle with the cold, unhealed past, a struggle as old as Middle-earth. But why do the hobbits face this ancient evil so soon, before they even reach Bree, before the darkest shadows of Sauron fall? Let's see why Tolkien set this trap right here, at the edge of the map.
Why does this terrifying encounter happen so early in their journey, before Bree, before the true darkness of Sauron's power? Tolkien puts the Barrow-downs just after the wild old forest for a reason. In the forest, danger is wild and alive. The Barrow-downs are colder. Here, the past itself becomes a threat. With every step, dread deepens. The journey grows colder, quieter. Light fades. Birds fall silent. Each hill feels like a warning, like the land itself is closing in. Tolkien writes, "A shadow came out of dark places far away, and the bones were stirred in the mounds. Barrow-wights walked in the hollow places with a clink of rings on cold fingers and gold chains in the wind. Stone rings grinned out of the ground like broken teeth in the moonlight."
This isn't just background, it's an enemy. Stone rings leer, every mound an open wound. The Witch King, Sauron's most terrible servant, sent evil spirits to haunt these mounds, on the watch with malice. The hobbits aren't just lost. They're being drawn in by mist, by memory, by history itself setting a trap. Tolkien's genius is this. Sometimes, the greatest dangers don't come from ahead. They rise up from beneath your feet, stirred by shadows, hungry for the living. But to really grasp what kind of evil waits here, we have to dig even deeper, into the ancient words and legends Tolkien used to conjure the Barrow-wight.
Tolkien didn't invent the Barrow-wight out of thin air. He built it from old languages and older fears. Here's how. Barrow comes from Old English Beorg, a grave mound, a hill where the dead are buried, grass hiding secrets below. Wight comes from Wicht, a being neither alive nor dead, something strange and hard to define. There's a natural creepiness in that. It's a word that lingers, heavy with unsaid things. But Tolkien didn't just look in the dictionary. He studied the great stories of the past. In Beowulf, there's a dragon, Another monster sleeping in a barrow, on top of a pile of gold, waiting to be disturbed. For Tolkien, monsters like this aren't just obstacles. They're what make a story come alive. They're the shadow that gives every victory its weight.
He also drew from Norse legends. There, Draugr are undead guardians, blue-black, swollen with death, who rise in anger if their graves are disturbed. In those stories, anyone who enters a barrow is changed forever. No one leaves untouched. Tolkien was an expert in these tales. He translated Sir Gawain and the Green Knight and read the oldest English poems, learning how words could make people feel fear, longing, and wonder. He knew a word like wight or Draugr could send a chill down your spine, even today. It's not just the meaning, but the sound. Wight. A word that almost makes you whisper, as if saying it out loud might wake something sleeping.
Tolkien wove in other myths too. In Celtic legends, the Sidhe are spirits who guard the mounds, and anyone who enters risks madness or doom. In Germanic stories, restless dead warn us that forgetting the past can bring trouble to the living. For Tolkien, words weren't just labels, they were spells. Words like cold, evil, and barrow aren't just decorations. They summon old fears into daylight. But even the best words have their limits. To see the true power of the Barrow-wights, we have to follow the hobbits, right into the mist, where ancient words become living nightmares.
Before hobbits ever wandered here, these hills were graves of legends, layers of hope and loss stacked upon one another like rings in an ancient tree. Here, the Edain, the first friends of the elves, were buried, warriors whose names echo in the oldest songs. Dunedain rangers once kindled fires to keep watch against the night. The proud kings of Cardolan built barrows as bulwarks, their last stand against the growing dark. But even glory fades. The Great Plague swept through in 1636, snuffing out bloodlines that had survived both sword and treachery. Kingdoms crumbled, memory thinned, the Barrow-downs fell silent. It was into this hush that the Witch King of Angmar came. Sauron's deadliest servant knew that to poison hope, you need not kill the living. You only need to corrupt their memory. He sent wights, spirits in borrowed flesh, to infest the tombs, turning places of honor into wells of fear. Why not a direct assault? The Witch King knew that desecrating graves was a deeper wound than any open battle. Across cultures and centuries, the desecration of the dead is a universal taboo, because it's an attack not just on people, but on identity, on the meaning of life itself. It makes history itself unsafe, the ground beneath your feet a source of anxiety. On the Barrow-downs, the geography of memory becomes the geography of trauma. Each mound is a scar that shapes the land and the soul. Here, the landscape itself becomes an antagonist, drawing the living into its sorrows, teaching them that the past, if left untended, will reach up to claim the present. These hills remember the oath of Eorl, the ride of the Rohirrim, the last stand at Fornost. Every barrow is a wound that never healed. Not all who lie beneath rest easy, and soon, 4 unsuspecting hobbits will discover. Some evils are far older and far hungrier than Sauron himself.
4 hobbits, fleeing the Shire and the Nine, take shelter on the Barrow-downs, believing themselves hidden. But on these hills, nothing stays hidden for long. Fleeing one shadow, they stumble into another, older, hungrier, infinitely patient. The wights hunt like spiders, spinning their webs of cold mist. It curls around the hobbits, dividing them, blurring friend from friend, path from memory. Each footstep is heavier. The world grows silent, heavy, and strange. The fog isn't natural. It moves with intent, guiding the hobbits into its heart. With every breath, the air thickens, not just with moisture, but with the scent of old earth, iron, and decay. The grass feels clammy,
almost alive underfoot. Every sound is muffled except for a faint, rhythmic thumping, like the heartbeat of the barrow itself. There are whispers too, echoes of old songs in a tongue no one living remembers. The words pull at the mind, making you want to lie down, to surrender, to sleep forever in the forgiving dark. Frodo tries to call out, but the fog steals his voice. His hand gropes for Sam, only to clutch at icy stone. He wakes in a tomb reeking of centuries, mold, earth, and the faint tang of rusted gold. His friends lie beside him, pale as effigies, draped in grave gold and shadow. Their breathing is so shallow, he wonders if it's real at all. The air is thick with the past. Each breath feels borrowed from the dead. Ancient treasures glitter around them, torques, rings, crowns, swords, gathered by hands that hoped for comfort in death, but found only waiting. Then, a sound, a creak, a groan as of ancient weight shifting on stone. A hand, bone white, emerges from the darkness, fingers impossibly long, skin stretched tight, nails black and claw-like, eyes like chips of moonstone, burning cold. This is the moment that freezes every heart. The white moves with a dreadful patience, unfolding itself from the earth, moving not like a living thing, but like a nightmare rehearsed for 1,000 years. The whites drain life slowly, savoring fear, drawing warmth and memory from their prey. The cold of their presence numbs, paralyzes, invades the mind with thoughts not its own. For a split second, Frodo fights, tries to lift his arm, to scream, to move. But the will is leached from him, a sensation of being slowly buried alive. A chill touches him, a shadow falls on his heart. He is paralyzed, neither able to move nor speak. Here is Tolkien's deepest fear, that the wounds of the past, left unhealed, can rise up to devour the future. This is no Nazgul spell. This is older, malice that seeps from the bones of the world, that grips the fear itself, that remembers every name the living would rather forget. In this moment, the quest stands on the edge of annihilation. But what power in Middle-earth can break a spell older than the shadow itself? When hope has vanished, when every story seems to end in silence, an elder voice sings, a melody that is laughter and sunlight, wild and unafraid, a presence that feels impossible here. Tom Bombadil enters, singing, golden, unfathomable. Eldest and fatherless, Tolkien calls him, one who remembers a world before pain, before power. Some say he is the last echo of ardor unmarred, a mystery untouched by the darkness of Melkor or Sauron. No evil can master him. His song is a light that burns without heat, a joy the white's cold cannot freeze. Get out, you old white. Vanish in the sunlight. Why does Bombadil command the whites, when even Gandalf treads with caution? Some say he's the spirit of the land, others, a fragment of the world's first music. But right now, all that matters is this. When Tom sings, the dead must listen, and the spell shatters. For a moment, grief and fear are banished. Sunlight breaks through the stones. Rescue feels like a miracle, unexplained and maybe unexplainable. But even Bombadil's song cannot heal every shadow. Some wounds run deeper than magic, and the hobbits will carry the Barrow's chill long after they walk out into the sun. They survive, but they are no longer the same creatures who entered that mist. Look at them now. 4 simple folk from the Shire standing in morning light, and yet, something fundamental has shifted. Frodo can't stop his hands from trembling when he touches stone. Every surface feels cold now, even in sunlight. Nights ahead will find him gasping, clawing at bedsheets that feel like burial shrouds. The ring hasn't even claimed him yet, but the Barrow has taught him what it means to be drained. To feel your very essence pulled away, drop by drop. Merry cannot bear enclosed spaces now. The heir of Cardolan, who should sleep easy in halls and houses, finds himself stepping outside every few minutes, gulping air like a drowning man. He's seen the fate of his own people, their bones turned to ornaments, their honor twisted into hunger. From this moment forward, every choice he makes will be shadowed by this knowledge. We are all closer to the grave than we know. Pippin flinches whenever the world goes quiet. The youngest Took, once delighted in peaceful moments, now fills every silence with nervous chatter, with song, with anything to keep the whispers at bay. His laughter, when it comes, carries a new edge, the sound of someone who has learned that even joy can be temporary. Sam checks every shadow twice now, his eyes always moving, always watching. His loyalty was once simple and pure. Now, it's been forged in ice and fear.
He's felt his master's life ebbing away and knows, with a certainty that cuts deeper than any blade, that love sometimes means standing between someone and death, even when your own hands are shaking. This is what the Barrow has made them, witnesses. They have looked into the face of absolute malice and lived to tell of it. They've felt their strength drain away, their will crumble, their very souls grow thin, and they have endured. In the space of one terrible night, 4 gentle hobbits have become something Middle-earth has never seen before. Ordinary hearts that have touched the deepest evil and refused to break.
They carry winter in their bones now, but winter, Tolkien knew, brings a terrible gift, the knowledge of what you can survive. Spring means something only after you've felt death's fingers on your throat. This is the moment when the fellowship truly begins, not in Rivendell with oaths and ceremony, but here, in a field of ancient graves where 4 friends learn they would rather die together than live apart. They are marked now, scarred, changed, but they are also something more. Survivors who still choose hope, warriors who still choose mercy, hearts frozen, yet refusing to grow cold. Look at them, small, shivering, forever altered, and absolutely unbreakable. But even the darkest night can leave gifts for those brave enough to face it, and Tom Bombadil has something waiting, something that will turn their suffering into strength. But even in the darkest Barrow, Providence works in secret. Tom gives each hobbit a sword, blades for the journey ahead. These aren't just weapons. Forged in Westerness, shaped in the wars against the Shadow, they're relics of Numenor, a lost age's last answer to darkness. One blade, given to Merry, will break the Witch King's spell on the fields of Pelennor, a doom that began here, in the Barrow-downs' cold heart. Evil, seeking to entrap, has armed its own defeat. This is Tolkien's irony. The bitterness of the past becomes the future's answer. In Middle-earth, even monsters are tangled in the story's redemptive weave. The Barrow-wight is gone, but its chill lingers. In dreams, in memories, in the choices the hobbits make all the way to Mount Doom. This is how trauma works in Tolkien's world. Not as a wound that vanishes, but as a shadow that stays. Monsters are never truly defeated, only resisted, only endured. Tolkien learned this from Beowulf, where monsters are the test and the heart of the story, not distractions from it. The wight is Middle-earth's echo of Grendel, of the dragon, of every ancient terror that lingers long after its defeat. In our own time, this rings true. The past never fully lets go. History, when ignored, returns as anxiety, as division, as ghosts we carry. Every civilization fears the desecration of memory, the return of what was buried. In the Barrow-downs, Tolkien asks, what if our greatest enemy is not new, but what we tried to forget? The reader's journey mirrors the Hobbit's. We carry our own barrows, traumas, griefs, lessons unlearned. What do we do with the cold that lingers? Tolkien's answer is both hard and hopeful. Death is not the end of evil, but evil is not the end of hope. The challenge is to carry scars forward, to let them remind us that memory, courage, and generosity reclaim the future. Merry's sword will prove this on the fields of Pelennor, when old evil meets the smallest hand. Every reader of Tolkien is haunted, just a little, by the cold that lingers, but also warmed by the light that follows after. The sun rises, but beneath the grass, the earth remembers. The cold that lingers is the price of every forgotten grief. Yet, in that chill, if we dare to face it, there is a gift waiting for us all. Next time on Monsters as Mirror, we leave the Barrows behind and descend to the dark waters before Moria. Something waits beneath the surface, the Watcher in the water. What secrets hide in the deep, and what happens when terror has no face? Join us for the next chapter, and remember, in Middle-earth, danger always lurks where you least expect it.